I have been called an Uber bull.
Mm-hmm.
Some people say that I'm the biggest, craziest, weirdest, wackiest Uber bull in the community. I might be. But I've put out a new video the other day, and in the video, I'm suggesting that Tesla's profits in 2030, their profits, not their sales, their profits will be 4.4 trillion. I brought on the show today Herbert Ong, because Herbert is never going to just yes man me.
No.
Herbert is definitely going to say, Randy, you're so crazy. What's wrong with you anyway? But we're going to take it division by division right now, and we're going to see what happens with that. Hey, Herbert, glad to have you on board.
This is going to be fun. Thanks, Randy. Love it. I'm going to go at you. I'm going to go after you, buddy.
So anyway, like it. If you like the idea, now you're just going to like it this time. If you like the idea that Tesla could hit 4.4 trillion, or maybe you just like to see Herbert take me apart and show me where I'm completely wrong. Anyway, subscribe, notify, follow Herbert on his channel, follow Herbert on Twitter, follow me on Twitter. I need more followers on Twitter. I keep doing these polls and I only get 100 answers, 100 responses. Way more people need to follow me on Twitter. Would you follow me on Twitter, please? And then Patreon. Did I say Patreon? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's jump into this. So I've divided it into 5 new sections. I had 5 sections on your show one day, and we talked about it, but I kind of organized it a little bit. And I think that the smallest division of all is going to be energy.
Wow. Yeah.
I know. Of the 5, energy.
Right.
Okay. So in energy, I only have it at about $200 billion in profits in 2030.
Mm-hmm.
So I get there by saying that it's 1 terawatt of energy storage in 2030. I believe Elon has said that's the goal. It's 1 terawatt of energy storage. I lowered the amount to $300 per kilowatt hour as the selling price. So that gets us to 300 billion in sales. 30% of that roughly is what Elon said the other day for energy storage would be the profit. So that would give us 100 billion in profit just for the hardware. After the hardware, we've got the continuing arbitrage, the continuing software licenses. We have the continuing maintenance. We may have some of the systems out there that are being run by Tesla for utility scale stuff where they're making the money on the utility. So I'm saying when you add it all together, it's going to be around 200 billion in 2030 from just that part of the business. Mm-hmm. That's profit. That's not sales. That's profit.
Well, let me pause there. You're talking about Tesla Energy, right?
Tesla Energy.
Yeah.
So where am I wrong?
They might be sandbagging it, but Elon and Drew both said Tesla Energy might just be 20 to 30% gross margin. Why is it not the 50% that many of the bulls were talking about several months ago, got all hyped up for? I still agree with you. Likely, I think that they're sandbagging it. But the other concern that people have is that energy is one of those that is not going to be it's going to have competitors, and the competitors, it's a commodity that will then reduce the price point. So even when they get the 50%, it's going to have to be reduced because other manufacturers will come in. Whether or not if they can secure the minerals, then that's batteries. Whoever can make the most batteries will rule the world, and that's why in that way I can see what you might be right. Still on energy, but those are the concerns that people have is that, the commodities will bring the prices back down, and then the margins may not be as high as we all thought, although I still think it's going to be higher than they're saying.
All right. So just one at a time, a terawatt is the goal, right? Mm-hmm. So that's just a matter of whether or not they can get the minerals, but he says the lithium is not the problem. It's just processing it, and he can build more plants if he needs to build more plants to process. So a terawatt is the goal.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, he's selling it for $460 to $500 per kilowatt. I'm saying no. The competition, or for whatever reasons, even if it's just the cost goes down a lot, that it'll be more like $300. So I'm trying to be conservative. So that's your 300 billion, and then 30% margins. You just said that seems reasonable. So that's the 100 billion, and then you have all the add-ons.
Services, for the other 100. But that I would include that, I guess, unless they also split out the margins between operating and energy, right?
Yeah. Okay. No, you'll have the services. I'm talking about the services. And the fact that some of them will be owned by Tesla, and so they'll be making revenue off of the utility aspects of it. So anyway, but 100 billion should be a walk in the park. 200 billion, okay, I might be, maybe I'm 100 billion to
profits.
In profit, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Number two. All right, number two category. This is brand new. All of a sudden we have to put in DOJO as a service. Now, sure, it's speculative at this point because he hasn't pulled the plug. He hasn't pulled the string. He hasn't done the reveal. He hasn't said they're going to do it, but he threw out a number. That's the first time he's done that. He says, if we do it, it's a $400 billion business. So $400 billion in sales. I can't imagine that there's much cost and there's not much overhead. So 400 billion. I don't know, 300 billion in profit. How's that? 300 billion in profit.
He also said, if it could be zero. It's either zero or 400 billion. I don't know if DOJO is yet there. And he's just not quite as confident about it. And so that's the only pause I have, right? It's like you think that every time he comes out with another presentation, his words would change, like it has with everything else, like FSD, and his confidence for those things keep changing, keep getting very stronger, even with bots, right? He said, this is, he said the words that you need to hear. But with DOJO, he seems to not really talk about it a lot. And then it was odd that he brought it up at the earnings call. It was just out of context, just said it out loud. But then he kind of like had a couch where it could be zero or it could be here. I don't know. So I agree with you. It's a business, but I wouldn't put it to my, guaranteed it's going to happen. And I know you just said it's not, but
no,
okay.
Right. Okay. All right. So then we go from there. For some reason, I'm having a brain fog right now. I think I'm going to miss one. I'm going to go next to cars, which you said cars alone. I mean, cars will do it. So I'm gonna put all the car thing together. Maybe that's what I didn't. That's what I didn't do. I'm sorry. Yeah. Number three, before we go to cars, is my favorite, semi-trucks.
Semi-trucks, yeah.
So semi-trucks, I'm saying $1 million. Now this again, there's no statement by Elon on this. He has never said he's going to do this, but I can't imagine him not to. I try as hard as I can to imagine why he's going to make less than 1 million semi-trucks in 2030. If there's 4 million demand, why he doesn't think he's going to be at 25% by 2030, it makes no sense, especially with all of the additional things that come with it. And also the benefits to the world are so much greater even than cars. So it's hard for me to think that he's not going to do it, but let's just look at the numbers real quick. I'm saying 1 million units. I'll go with $350,000 a truck. That's $350 billion in sales for the trucks. I'm saying 30% margins on those because it'll be much easier to get that. And so that gives us another $100 billion deal. Now you've got superchargers that you have to, mega chargers that you have to install. You've got mega packs that you have to install. You've got solar on the roofs that you have to do. And then on top of all of that, you're going to sell them probably $100,000 per vehicle in FSD.
Yeah. So
now that's another 100 billion. It's $100,000 per vehicle in FSD is 100,000 times million. So that's another $100 billion. So somewhere north of $200 billion in profit just for semi-trucks. What have I got wrong?
Nothing except that you're obviously counting FSD. You're counting all these other things on top of that. And FSD dwarfs all of that anyway. So far you've talked about 100 billion here, 100 billion here, and 100 billion there. Like, yeah, you're set 4.4 trillion or something like that. So it's like, yeah, okay, whatever.
We're getting close to $1 trillion at this point. We're really getting close to $1 trillion. Okay.
All right.
All right. Okay. All right. So next we want to look at the cars. Okay.
Yeah.
So everybody in the entire world at this point, if they're not living under a rock, knows that the goal is 20 million cars by 2030. The only way that you can think about this, because there's so many possible directions and forks in the road, is to think of those as all being sold. So I'm going to approach it as if every single one is sold. Okay? I think everybody would probably agree that they're going to be around 35 average, maybe it's 30 average, somewhere in that range for the car itself, the hardware, just the hardware.
Average sales price.
All right, average sales price. Okay, does that make sense? 25, 20 for the low.
You said 20, didn't you say 27? But
27.
But yeah, it could actually go lower if there's compact car and all that, which is going to be the vast majority of those sales.
Which also some cyber trucks and
over 50%. Over 50% will be the cheaper price. But okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So we'll pick 30. I'll take 30. Okay. It's all good.
Okay.
$30 per times 20. So that's 600 billion at 25% margins would be 675, 150 billion in profit. All right. But Elon said the other day, it's going to be 80% margins.
Sure. If you have, again, it's all FSD at this point, but yes.
No, but it's going to be 80% margins, but it's not going to be on $30,000.
Yeah.
What did he say that the car is going to cost with FSD?
I don't know. He might even give it away. I mean, he didn't say that, but
No, I'm saying if it's sold, if it not if he's making all the revenue, but rather if he's selling the car.
Well, the split on the FSD was either 70-30 or 50-50, but that was the FSD
after.
part.
You still have to buy.
After.
You still have to buy the software. I think he said in the past he might be charging as much as $100,000.
Sure. Well, again, that one is full of caveats. Is that there's also the chance that they'll give it away for free to fleet managers, and then just make it up on this. It's a razor blade model. Make it up on the subscriptions.
Right.
But then the reason why he said $100,000 is that he wants the value of FSDs to be proper. But not that he thinks that people are going to pay $100,000 per car. That's not what's going to happen, right? They're going to just rent it and it's going to subscription. The average Joe will do that. And fleet managers, I don't think they're going to try to make the money on the $100,000 per car sale. Rather, they're going to try to they might even get away for free. That's what I'm saying. They might lower that price.
Yeah. So
who knows what's going to happen there, right? We're talking wonky numbers, right? Just wonky numbers. And so it could easily turn out, I think he said 70-30 split or 50-50 split on the FSD monthly fees. And so it almost doesn't matter what the initial price is. The monthly fees alone could make up for, payment within a couple of years. It's like the semi, right? It's like paid off in a couple of years.
Well, so if you sell the car for $25,000 with FSD, it would immediately be resold. Just like he had the problem with the backlog.
Yeah, he said it's going to be worth 5 times more. So if you had a $25,000 car, you can sell it for $125,000 or something like that, even higher.
Right, with 80% margins.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So because he's not selling a car anymore, he's selling a business. He's selling a subscription or what do you want to call it? A little business that you can buy one of, or you can buy 20 of, or you can buy 1,000 of, and you have a fleet. So he's selling a business. So if he sells it for $25,000. If you bought that car for $25,000, you'd have a guy right over here saying, "I'll buy it from you for $100,000." Well, he doesn't want a third party to make that upcharge, so that's why he has to charge more for FSD. So anyway, somewhere in there, I get to about, I don't know, $1 trillion in revenue. I'm sorry, $1 trillion in profit from 100 million, from 20 million cars between
with FSD.
With FSD, with the robotaxi fleet, figure 50% of them are in the fleet, et cetera, et cetera. I get to $1 trillion in profits. So now I'm at 2 trillion. Actually, I was at 2.2, if I remember my number. All right. So now, what did he say at the meeting the other day?
Bots.
He said the bots were going to be what?
20 billion, 10 billion or 20 billion sales at some point in the future. Yeah.
No. What he said was it would be greater than the rest of the company combined.
Yes. Yeah. They said the value of the company will be bots. That's going to be the one that has the most value to the company. Something like that. Yeah.
Something like that. So that would be another 2.2 billion at least. So now you're at 4.4. Now, I didn't want to just leave it there, though. I wanted to be able to reverse that back out. So I'm just assuming that by 2030, they would have 100 billion bots out there, not making 100 billion a year.
How many
out there.
Bots? 100 billion bots?
No, 100 million.
100 million bots.
100
million bots.
So that'd be
by
like if they
2030.
made, so if they made 1 million next year and then 5 and then 10 and then 20 and then 40, by 2030, they'd have 100 million. That would be,
That's aggressive.
it's aggressive. Would you
I mean,
buy?
it could be faster. It's going to be faster than cars.
Right.
But we're in 2024 now, 2023 now.
Yep.
So it's pretty aggressive. Even as bullish as I can get, that would be very aggressive, like overly aggressive.
Then I'll just cut my number in half. I'll go to 50 million actually out there working in the workplace.
Sure. Let's say you do that. Okay. All right.
So then what I need to do is say that it's going to cost $44,000 a year in leases.
Mm-hmm.
So and anybody would pay 44,000. Any manufacturer would pay 44,000 all day long to get something that can work 24/7. So 44,000 times 50 million would be 2.2 billion. I'm sorry, 2.2 trillion.
Mm-hmm. And then there's going to be the FSD, the auto, the brains. That's going to be subscription on that too. So at the end of the day, it really is FSD and bots. Now, despite your crazy uber bullish numbers that you try to make sound so logical and obvious, the part that you haven't said is that the bots, that's going to impact the profit.
Yes.
Is that the bots themselves will dramatically reduce the cost for everything.
Everything.
Bots will make bots will make cars, bots will make mega packs, bots will build gigafactories, even if they don't sell the bots. So you just said, what was the number you sold per bot? $47,000?
44,000 or whatever.
Okay. So Scott Walter just showed me that there's already Tesla has 130,000 employees today. Right. And of course, it's going to probably double, triple if we're talking about the success of the company and all that. But the cost of an employee is over $200,000+. And then the fact that you can have one bot is equivalent to 3 employees. If you add up the hours they work, all that, there are no benefits, all that, no injuries, all that. Tesla alone doesn't have to sell this to anybody. Just use it within their factory, and each bot is worth $200,000 to $300,000. And the cost of right, as most people understand, most of the margins of the cost of goods, it's not just cost of goods, but the cost of the building a company, it's employees.
Yeah, it's labor.
That's your labor's your biggest cost. Yeah. And this is where Elon's saying it's wacky when you think about it. And they won't, it's just them own themselves as a business, bots building bots. So what's the cost of the bot? Right?
Yeah.
Bots building cars. What happens to the margins of that?
Yes.
And so the margins are going to skyrocket everywhere. And then it's a subscription, not just the one-time purchase.
No, I'm saying
that's where the
I was suggesting it was $44,000 a year.
Yeah.
That would be all in. That would be all in with the subscription. Yeah.
Okay. So that's great per year, right? So not just per. And so that's why it's crazy margins, and it's not because people haven't factored in the wackiness of bots building things. Yes. And that's what he's trying to say, right? It's like, what is an economy at that point? Yeah.
So 4.4 trillion, you're in. I'm going to tell people. Herbert,
not by 2030. not by 2030. It's like the 50 million bots. It's just as I'm a big exponential curve guy, and I'm the one telling people you're totally underestimating things. I just won't go there quite yet. I just can't. My own brain can't comprehend that. My own brain, and I'm like so far ahead of everyone else too.
Actually, interestingly, I think the 50 million bots would be a walk in right. Not building 50 million a year, but actually having 50 million in place.
In total. Yeah.
2030 is not a hard get at all.
Well, I mean, it does take a year to build. It takes a year to build a factory. So that's why I don't think it's 2030.
You don't need a specialized factory. You can put this in the same thing like a Megapack factory.
Right.
Scott Walter said you can build it in your garage.
Right. Yeah, no. This is going to be easy. I'm not against that at all. So it's very possible. They're masters in mass scaling. They already have the factories. They just expand Giga Texas. And I'm already predicting there's going to be a Giga Texas factory that's 100% bots. And it's going to be Giga. Right. It's going to be Giga Texas.
I'm writing that down. Herbert Ong prediction.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've been saying this for a while because like it's going to have to be in Texas. That's where the headquarters are.
Right.
So they're going to want it to work in one of the largest factories in the U.S., which happens to be Giga Texas right now.
Yeah.
And so they're going to build it like crazy there. And it's going to be. And then I don't know if you saw the video that I just dropped with Scott Walter a couple of days ago. Did you see the head of the bots? They take out the back.
Yeah.
They take out the back.
Yeah.
The reason why they take out the back was inside the head of the bot are just two metal things that the cable from the top can grab the bot and move it around. Right. It's going to be at the head. Because of that, they made it so that the neck is frozen. It does not have actuators. You can't turn the neck. And I was concerned why, because they have cameras all over to here, maybe in the back. I don't know, but you can see everywhere. So there's no need for them to turn the neck like we do to move our two eyes around. But the other reason is that this is all solid from the neck to the shoulder so that you can grab it from the head, pull it up. And because it's center, it's easier to move bots around. And basically going down the factory line and then moving through the unboxing process. You can have the arms made, the legs made, and then at the very last it's like boom, put together, right? But that's why it has nothing in the head. There's no brain. Yes. It's empty except two metal things that it can grab onto. So
it's very humanoid.
Remember their philosophy. Yeah, their philosophy is to already build the product with the manufacturing in mind.
Yes.
And that's how it all came together. And so, anyway, so you can imagine a factory just like that movie with Will Smith or that one. It's like the factory of bots, like lined up. Scary. So you're right. They can definitely produce way more bots faster than they do cars. And so if they can produce 1 million cars a year, 2 million cars, but it's going to take, even as bullish as I am, it still takes years for them to, and the other thing is that they purposely delay, even though they can, because you don't want to replicate something until you're guaranteed for sure that this thing works. So it's a very slow, and then once they figured it out and they guaranteed it works, then it'll skyrocket. And so that's why I'm going, it's 2024 already, pretty practically. It's 2023 now. It's like 2024 in several months. Now you're talking 6 years, 50 million. Maybe in the last year they can get 40 million.
Yeah, I don't know. So in some of my conversations with Scott and with Joe Justice and others, they thought that hand building the first 1,000 was going to be not a problem. Agreed. And they could do it very quickly. Somebody said the other day that in order to make my number, we only needed to make 2 a day for the rest of the year. We could get, that sounds wrong, but I guess somebody said, no, that can't be. Maybe that was to get to Scott's 500 with 2 a day for the rest of the year. Anyway, so 4 a day to hit my number. Anyway, but then if you're doing that 1,000 this year, then you should be fairly confident of your build by the time we get to January. So now you can be starting to set up your line and begin to act.
No, I mean, I'd argue that you'd build 1,000 because you're doing 2 things, right? You're building the bot and then you're building the brains and then you want the 2 but you build 1,000 so you can start teaching it the brains, but it's unlikely going to be the final design. And so I would say that they'll probably build 1,000. I'm on board with you and with Scott saying 500 by the end of this year. I'm on board with that idea. But then that they would then start mass producing in January, March of next year. No, they're going to practice and learn to see if it's the right design before they'll mass produce. Don't know. I don't know. What do I know?
That's right. We have to have some controversy since you now agree with my 4.4 trillion. Okay.
I do not agree with them. But it is psycho when you start, we started off the conversation last about having, do you still think FSD is years away? Do you think bots are years away? And so some people are like, you and I take it for granted that it's going to come. And there's merit to it not happening right now. It's take some time, but
Dama said 18 months. He said for the first time he can see the end. He says
of mass production of bots will start happening.
No. I'm sorry. He said we talked about FSD. With the newest update, he says for the first time he can see the end. He says up till now, he says I couldn't really see the end.
What's the definition though, right? It's not robotaxi. It's not that it's got the March of Nines. It's the end meaning what?
I don't know. I don't remember if he clarified that, but I think when he says the end, I think he means that the product can be fine. It can be a done deal.
It never ends. It'll never end. Right?
You're always adding more nines. But,
it's hitting a milestone. And what is that milestone? And that milestone it's what I think the milestone is how much safer than a human. That's the milestone. It's not engagements, disengagements. Right. And if you notice that Elon used a new term, he used zero safety disengagements. Safety disengagements. Yeah. So that means that you can still have disengagements, but not disengagements because it put you in an unsafe position.
Right.
So, the ultimate metric is not disengagements, which is what we're all tracking.
Right.
It's safety, and safety already. Because humans are terrible drivers. They're terrible drivers. This is actually a very low bar. People don't understand this because you think you're a great driver. Each person thinks that they're a fantastic driver, but they don't realize that, there's teenagers out there that can't friggin' drive, and they're stupid drivers, or they, as we all know, the death rate skyrocketed in the last 7 years, and it's because of mobile phones. It skyrocketed. You can hear Kathy Wood talk about that. So anyways, it's like humans are terrible drivers. They get sleepy, they get tired, they're using social media, they're distracted, they're not thinking anymore, whatever. They're impatient, they're emotional. So the bar is low for being safer than a human, but that doesn't mean that it won't make a stupid mistake and turn left when it shouldn't turn left or something like that, right? But there will become a time when the cameras and the vision are so accurate that it will know if there's something there and not hit that or do evasive maneuvers. And then there will become a time where it won't do any more stupid mistakes. Like it will only turn left when it's free, when the lights are on correctly. It won't do as. And so when that happens, it's about safety to humans. And so compared to how much safer than an average human, it is already safer than an average human today.
Right.
So if you're talking autopilot on highways, it's already safer. And they released those data just 2 weeks ago.
Right.
6 times safer than an average human.
Right.
So on autopilot.
When it's
supervised.
Right.
Supervised. So supervised driving is so much safer today because I'm not only do I have the car making its decisions with the cameras, and I'm there too doing both. And so why won't it be logically safer? Unless people start to, just sleep, and then that's where it's not going to be safer. But there will come a time that you don't, right? You won't need to be paying attention, and that there'll be that weird curve thing where you should really pay attention, but you think you shouldn't need to pay attention, and then it is still stupid enough they'll do stuff, and then that'll be scary part. But once you get past that,
hey, well, as always, Herbert, it's phenomenal to have you on board. And for those of you out there, if you like this kind of content, please hit like and hit notify and hit subscribe or something in some order at least. And then always get over there and follow Herbert on Twitter, follow him on his channel, sign up for his new Twitter subscription thing. I'm going to probably do one too, but you don't have to do that yet because I haven't got it set up yet. Anyway, it's been great. And we have one more session with Herbert. Even if you don't push like, we're still going to have him back one more time, this particular series. We'll probably have him back many, many times, but one more time in this particular series. So thanks again, Herbert. And to all of you out there.
Thanks, guys.
It's been great talking to you.
Thanks, Randy.
Click the link below to get your paperback, Kindle, or audiobook now.